right, so I'm going to show you guys today how to use the Isky Groove-O-Matic O-ring tool, which is the greatest name for a product in history. Now, this is used for if you need to add an O-ring seal to your engine, but don't have the ability to do a groove on both the cylinder sleeve and the cylinder head. This is sort of a way you can do it also using a regular MLS steel gasket. The tool's only a couple $100. From what I've seen, it's good quality. I'm going to show you a few little tricks to use this on an engine that's slightly smaller than it's specified to fit. Show you how to set it up, and then do some practice cuts to show you guys how to go ahead and do that. Okay, so just going to go over, the tool, what you're going to need. So the first thing is obviously the tool. So it comes with a cutter, it comes with the tool body itself, and then the little spacers, I guess you would call them, that slide into the tool like that. Now, I have the bottom of the tool off, which is this steel cover over here, because I had to modify this, and I'll show you why in a second. And then it has these little thread-in handles. Everything's adjustable. It's pretty straightforward. The tool comes with copper wire to use. It's the appropriate thickness, and it comes with instructions. What it does not come with is a feeler gauge set. So we have a feeler gauge set here, and you can see that I have it taken apart. Now, your initial cut depth is going to be 0.025 of an inch. So I'll show you how to set that in a second, but you're going to need 4 measurements of 0.025 of an inch. So here we have one that is exactly 0.25, and then we have here from this feeler gauge set here an 0.10 and an 0.15, and so on and so forth. You also should get your hands on a head gasket for the engine that you are doing this on. In this case, this is a Nissan MR engine. You're going to want that just so you can get some measurements. In this particular instance, it doesn't really help us any, and I'll show you why in a minute. But that's everything that you're going to need. And I also recommend a test engine, which we'll go to now. So here we have a junk test engine that I have laying around. Now, this right here is the smaller of the two sizes that they sell this in. And when you put it in, you see that there's a little bit of wiggle room, which is what you want. Now, the problem that I ran into on this, because we're on like the extreme small end of what this can do, is when the spacers were put in, they actually protrude ever so slightly, like ever so slightly, which can be a problem, because then obviously instead of having this as your diameter you can work with, it's whatever this is. So to get around that, to make it fit this much smaller 81mm bore, I took out this little, I'm going to call it a valve because it looks like a valve in an engine. I took out this valve, and if you can see in there, I put that in a lathe and I cut the threads down a little bit, which allowed the spacers to actually go in a little bit more, which gave me just enough room to get this set up. So the way that you set this up is we put our 4 spacers in, and the metal piece that's supposed to go on the bottom, this stops these from falling out, but we're not doing it the normal way. So get these all in here like that. We're gonna go ahead and put this on the engine bore like that. Now we're gonna take our 4 feeler gauge pieces that we took out, or our 4 groups of feeler gauge pieces, and we're gonna put them underneath all of our legs here. And what that does is it raises the body 0.025 of an inch up, which is the depth you need to cut at. So now to set your depth, you just put this down so it's resting on the deck surface, and then when you remove these, it will cut down to its diameter. Now, I already did all that, and before you actually do that, you're going to want to actually push these spacers out a little bit. Where'd my tool go? You're going to want to push these spacers out just a little bit, because in this case I pulled them in quite a bit. You don't want it to like lock, you just want it to catch ever so slightly so that it doesn't wiggle around. So if you go side to side, you don't want any side to side movement. It's like there's a little bit there, it's a little bit, and that's pretty much gone. So once you have that all set up, we can go ahead and take these feeler gauges out of here. And then, I know it seems counterintuitive to do this afterward, but just so you can get everything set up, I'm going to take this out and I'm going to set it right here for a second. And then I'm going to take a rag with some clean engine oil on it. I'm going to lubricate these cylinder walls a little bit. That will just make it so the thing will spin a lot smoother. Okay, now we're going to put this down in here. And we're going to get to cutting. Now, I mentioned before, sorry, before we get to cutting, I mentioned before that having the head gasket, you kind of need that because they want you to go 1/8 inch off the center, off the bore edge. We have this maxed as far in as it can go, and it's about 1/8 of an inch off. It's a little further out, but once I start modifying things like that, the geometry can get thrown off, and I don't want to do that, so that's just going to be what we're going to get. So we're just going to go ahead and start cutting. So our protrusion should be something like this. So we're just going to check it. So then it's just a matter of doing it to the rest of them. You're going to put your copper material in there. You know, you got to butt the ends up as much as you can. I'm going to do a couple more test cuts on this block before we pull in our actual one to do some cutting on. But it is really that simple. So here's what the copper will look like in there. I don't know if this is going to show up. It's kind of hard to press it down and, you know, get the heights right, but you can see when it's in the groove how it's sticking out just a little bit. Now whatever you do, don't hit that with a hammer because the copper will flatten out. So you just get it in there, get the ends as tight as you can, and then when you put the head and the head gasket on, that's what we'll seal that in.
Like and subscribe, guys.